All right, we're gonna see if this works this time before I tweet it out. Because I tested it, should be working now. Everything should be working all right. I did a tester. We should be okay. I don't know why it's happening in the first place, but we should be okay now. It's all good on. Let me know if it's all good on your end. I genuinely have no clue why it's lagging. When it was lagging, I reset everything, and it seems fine. So we will go again. Make sure that hopefully everything is okay. But no, I seriously have no idea. I haven't changed anything. We'll be fine this time. I haven't changed anything, and it seems to be just not working. So, like, once in a while now, it seems like the connection just dips, and then it stops, and all of that. But we're okay. Gremlins. I know the Gremlins. All right. Sorry. It just throws me because I'm like, how do I know? You know? How do I know? All right. I'll get to it now. All right. Don't do it. Don't lag on me. There we go. All right. We're okay. I think we're okay. All right. Thanks, guys. I apologize for the delay on that. That's annoying. But yeah, thanks. Thanks for being here. I hope you guys are all doing well. I try not to be distracted now because I keep like looking over to make sure it's not lagging and going crazy. So yes, how are we doing tonight? How are we doing? Omar Broad is the reason we're at debt and a fall for everything. So, got a totally random question. Do any of you ever get like occasionally like, you know, I call it scammed because I don't like being sold things when ads pop up, but like, do you guys ever get sold by like those ads that pop up that are like, this coffee's great, it's made with mushrooms? Because I totally didn't. And I totally haven't been drinking it. Chances Sancho says yes to Saudi if they approach. Don't think his weekly wages will be an issue there. No, I don't think that his weekly wages would be an issue there. I'm pretty unsure whether he would accept it or not because because he, you know, last time we were talking about Jadon Sancho leaving, he was pretty certain about wanting to be somewhere in Europe to stay in European competitions and all of that. So I think that he would use it to try and leverage a different deal somewhere else or something like that. You know what I mean? To stay in Europe and to stay in the competitions in Europe. This is the mushroom coffee, and I honestly have to tell you, I kind of like it. Like it's sort of disgusting, but like coffee's kind of disgusting anyway. But it's kind of disgusting, but it's also kind of good. And I do have to say, you do feel good after drinking it. I thought it was gonna be like a scam, but I do genuinely believe, and once you get old like me and you're in your 30s, these things matter. I do generally believe that it has super helped with like bloating and things like that too. Um, disgusting is like a I don't know how to put it. I like sometimes you like things that are gross. Like, does coffee on its own, straight black coffee, taste good? No, but I actually like it a lot. It's kind of like alcohol. Like alcohol is disgusting, but if you like it, you like it. You know what I mean? I drink tons of coffee, but I like it like straight black, and it is bad, but I like it. I really like I really like straight black coffee. Like, yeah, I don't put sugar, I don't put a bunch of creamer in it or anything. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, since you're 25, you have to watch what you eat and drink. I know it's funny how it hits you, and once you get to 30, then it really starts to go beyond on that. So yeah, mushroom coffee. Yeah, it's pretty good. Stack at 12 to 15 million makes sense. I don't know why we're not moving. Um, I think that I would agree with you. I would agree with you. I would like to see us make a move for somebody like that. I definitely would. I bet you have nice breath smell with that coffee. I do brush my teeth. See how nice and big and white they are? I do brush my teeth a lot and maintain good oral hygiene. It's very important. Very, very important part of your life. Keep your teeth and all that, you know. I don't drink alcohol, no. I drink like once every few months or something like that, you know what I mean? So anyway, what did we want to discuss today? I mean, it's mostly yapping, um, mostly yapping to a degree because things are kind of slow. Things are kind of, you know, slow progress moving forward, but things are moving. One of the things, yeah, I saw you the first time. I don't really care to respond. Thank you. Um, One of the things that happened that we did see like last year, I was trying to describe that in the video that I put out this morning, which is that, you know, if you remember like last season, what we did a lot of was, or last year I should say, what we did a lot of was in June. I mean, obviously in June, what happened, right? Last year in June, we had this whole nonsense about like, hold on. We had all the nonsense about Eric Ten Hag, right? And that, like, let's put it this way, okay? No matter what happens, we are certainly better off than we started off last summer, okay? Um, we had like last summer. When did the whole review, the end of season review end? It was like um, June 20th or June 23rd or June 25th or something like that. The end of this the review kind of ended. Now, we were kind of working on transfers during that time. We approached a bunch of center backs. That seemed to be our first priority. If you remember, we actually bid for Gerard Braithwaite. We had this whole situation with Todibo. We were going to go for him. Gerard Braithwaite, it didn't work. And then it was like all the way till the end of June. Yeah, I mean, like literally, we didn't sign anyone before July 1st, did we? Because our first deal was, I think, Joshua Zirkzee, correct? Our first deal was Joshua Zirkzee, and that was like, I don't know, United agreed deal to sign Joshua Zirkzee. What date was that? I need to keep like a log at some point. July 12th. July 12th was the first time that we signed anybody. But then what happened? United agreed deal to sign Lenny Yoro. When was that? That was July 18th. United agreed deal to sign Matthias Delict, because that was a double deal, right? August 13th, so that was like 3 weeks later. United agreed deal to sign Manuel Ugarte. All right, hold on. When was that? August 30th? 30th. Okay, so thank you, Marcus. Welcome back to the Pro Muppet. So it was kind of interesting how it all kind of went forward, because our first signing was July 12th. Then 6 days to Euro, 3 weeks to Delict and Mazraoui, so 2 signings. And then another week or 2 weeks or so until Ugarte. And then in between there, we got like, I don't remember when we got Kone or something like that. So we got all 5 players in about a 6 to 7 week period over the course of summer once they were ready. And I think that that's pretty good. I think that that's about where we're at. You know, that's probably a decent number. It's almost like 1 a week once we got going, 1 every week and a little bit. So obviously we kind of got Cunha in the door, and now we're getting fairly close on Mbumo. But the way that these guys work is like, even when things appear kind of slow, things appear a little bit like they're maybe not moving or something like that, there is progress. There are these things kind of being worked out, you know, piece by piece, little by little, towards a deal, getting things kind of lined up. And that's why, even though we're like in the process on Mbumo, we're still talking about strikers and working on strikers, and we'll get to that in a second again. And then, you know, moving on to other targets. And bear in mind, it was also slowed down by, yes, Euros, but also, you know, Ten Hag. the whole Ten Hag situation slowed things down too. And it slowed down quite a lot of business as well, because he also had a veto, and, you know, there was things like that that were definitely interfering with, you know, interfering with the whole process, you know, at the time in getting things done kind of speedily. No way am I lagging again. No way. This looks okay. It looks okay. It looks fine. I'm watching it. It looks fine. Maybe it was like just a second. Oh no, you know what? It's bad again, isn't it? I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Yep. YouTube is not maintaining enough. Video lag, but the voice is good. Yeah. I honestly can't tell you why it's happening. It's happening here at my office, where generally I have extremely consistent, but I'm doing like a speed test and my speeds dropped to 10% of what it was. So like obviously it was you know, that is the reason. Something's going on here where suddenly my speeds are being like throttled every little while. So yeah, fair enough. It seems like it's okay now. I can't explain it. It's yeah. It's nothing I can do anything about. I've really done it all. But yeah, look, they're I might just have to end up doing these from home every single day until I can figure out like where these things are like coming from, I guess, like where these problems are occurring, you know, on my internet. But I'll probably just have to get them to replace the router. I would guess that I have something's wrong with the router. There's no option for no, Jesse, you bastard. No, but, you know, genuinely speaking, you know, they are, they do move these things forward and start to kind of knock them down. And that is really the progress that we're expecting to see. And I know that it's kind of boring, but I can kind of assure you that they are doing that. That's all I can really say. I can only kind of just confirm that aspect of it, that they are, TUSS has hit the second server. Oh, man. No, but I can only just tell you for sure that, like, there is progress on this kind of stuff. Like, they are getting kind of closer to some of these things. Is it true we're talking to Vlahovic? I'm not aware of us being interested in Vlahovic right now. I don't know of any interest in Vlahovic today. So look, it's going to happen. Obviously, I think the biggest thing is that we want to make sure we get enough deals coming in the door before, training resumes. That is the biggest part of the, the whole thing, is that we really do need to have players in the door for preseason. We need players in the door for Ruben Amorim. A huge part of our potential success for this summer is to be sure that we have, these major deals in place and some serious players in there. That being said, one of the things I want to say, like, it's really about the forwards, right? I said before that it's kind of like goals, goals, goals. That's like everything is all about goals. And people have kept talking about, and I keep ending up in these kind of debates, and I don't even mean to debate on this. But the priority from the club is not the midfield. You know what I mean? It's not the midfield. And so I don't think we're going to be signing a midfielder that's particularly going to change the way that we play football this summer. The forwards are the important part. Without the forwards, it will be hard to play, because let's give the example of, like, especially at striker. For me, that's like a huge complication. Like, if you have to play with the way that Joshua Zirkzee plays, it represents a very different style of football than if you have a different type of striker in the door, in terms of how you're going to attack the game, right? How you're going to move, how you're going to go forward. Guys, I don't have much to say on that source in general. I don't think it's particularly one that would know on this, but I'm not. It's just, I don't think you're gonna get the breaking news on. I don't think you're gonna get the breaking news on this from Rudy Giletti. Okay, that's all. I'll just leave it at that, because I don't want to do that whole game. So the forwards are the main thing, because the forwards are going to change how we play, how Cunha plays, how Mbeumo plays, how a striker play, have a lot more effect on how Ruben Amorim sees the game of football than a midfielder does. And that's why the midfielder is not the priority. So I don't think we'll be signing a midfielder this summer that changes the way that we're going to play tactically. You understand what I mean by that? Like, we're not going to get a midfielder in who's going to, like, take the way we play football and fundamentally alter it, right? We're just not, and I've said before that I tend to base my opinions off of the things that I'm hearing and the things within there. And what they want in the midfield is, I say it however you like, but the biggest priority in terms of the position is, from a fit standpoint, is is what most people would call a shin kicker. So that's the main thing that we want. That's the main thing that we want in the midfield, is more shin kickers, frankly. I mean, in terms of a priority, that's the priority. When you drop Bruno in down there into the midfield already, and you get your center backs being really progressive, and you have your Cunha and your Mbeumo and all of that, a midfielder isn't particularly going to change the way that we look at the game, okay, under Ruben Amorim. So maybe in the future, but not this summer. It's not a priority and all that. So we really do need to get those three forwards in the door pretty quickly. I think the 10 is the biggest thing. I think the 9 is the biggest thing. Let's put it that way. I'm saying the wrong word. The 9 is the biggest thing for me, because, like, let's say, and this is why I was saying it's kind of backwards. Like, if Mbeumo wasn't there, you could still play Ahmad there, you could still play Bruno there, and you would still fundamentally play a bit of the same football. The striker, you're going to have to line up with Rasmus Højlund. You know what I mean? You're going to have to line up with Rasmus Højlund, not Xerxes, to try and mirror the dynamic that Amram wants. But unless you can get Xerxes to be a runner. Do you think we should start buying players Brentford would buy after they sell a player to us, mix them with more expensive players? You mean like buy some of those pre-project guys? Yeah, maybe. I would love to get some more guys like that, for sure. I would love to get more like that. Do you see Ekitike fitting the striker role? Look, like I was saying yesterday on this Ekitike thing. I think he's a good player. I don't think he particularly fits the precise way that Ruben Amorim wants out of a 9. The question is, does he make those volume runs that those volume runs out of possession, running into the back line, and all of that? Like I'm lagging again. There you go. I'll just keep talking because it'll disappear in a minute here. All right. Does he make those kind of volume runs? And the answer is essentially no. He doesn't necessarily make those volume runs. Could we be waiting until the end of July? For a striker, probably not. And that's really the main issue. We can't really wait on a striker. So, I think that Ekitike probably fits as a good player, but not necessarily the best player. I know he isn't a power forward. Well, exactly. That's kind of the point. You know what I mean? And that was why I highlighted that on Gyökeres, is that no, I'm not resetting my stream. It'll last like 10 seconds. I can see that, and now it should be all fine again. So when it does that, I'm just gonna go through it, and I'll just hold really still so you can't tell the difference anyway. Once I see it lagging, it should be fine. But no, he doesn't really fit the power forward model of the constant, physical running against the back line, against the center backs, channels. Again, I would recommend the read by Carl Anka because I think he really did get it right in terms of how he noted our profiling of the striker, And again, that's not about like he was very irritated people taking that as transfer things, and he's right. But it was a very good piece of analysis on the type of striker that you want. Look, factually, Marcus Rashford kind of fits into that in a similar way, funnily enough. But again, I want to make very, very clear, there's been no talks with Marcus Rashford over reconciling. There's been no talks over him returning to the fold and taking a part of the team as of right now. There's been none. They're still working on moving him. They're still working on selling him. They're still working on a deal for him to go. All right, I want to make that very, very clear. Ekitike is slight of frame and has 1 foot and great speed, but Gyökeres has left and right foot, knows the system, speaks Portuguese and strong. Well, I would agree. Gyökeres is a much more classical striker in the sense of what Ruben Amorim utilizes in his team and in his system. So, but the question becomes, of course, if you can't get the guys who fit it ideally, do you change? Do you change to somebody else? Do you get somebody who could be, an all-rounder or something like that? Was Højlund considered a powerhouse? Yeah, he was, Jesse, and that's the thing that's kind of crazy, is that like Højlund's strength when he was like originally looked at, which was ironic given the way that everything went, is as a player who does, high speed sprints into the channels and things like that. And he seems to have, for some reason, lost that over the last 18 months to where he just can't do it. He's too drawn to the defenders. It's too many, too many things. But yeah, I mean, that's the truth of it. And so really most of the focus has been on the forwards because, as I said, we're not likely to see a huge adjustment from how we play in the midfield or anything like that. Is another left wing back a priority? Dorgu, Leon aren't ready. I think so. I think that in an ideal world they will get another right back, another left back. Excuse me. I think the right side is probably well stocked now, but they'd be very interested in getting another left wing back. But that's what I wanted to say, is that, in general, overall. But I also think somebody young, I think they're quite happy with Patrick Dorgu, for what it's worth. Quite happy with Patrick Dorgu. But yeah, that's a couple of the things I wanted to say, is that I'm not saying they won't get a midfielder this summer. They do want a midfielder this summer. But again, the reason they want a midfielder primarily is because we don't have enough players who can do the dirty work in the midfield next to a Bruno or a Kobbie Mainoo or something like that. Athletic, physical runners who go and win the ball. That's their thinking. That's the way that they look at it. That's the way that they're talking about it. So I wouldn't expect we get a midfielder that changes. So the most important thing for Ruben Amorim in his preseason plans is that we have new forwards, all three. They really can't fail to give him a striker. And I think that's why, they have to be open to looking at more, because, look, I'm not an idiot. You asked me today, all right, well, should we, if Ekitike is not necessarily the perfect fit, he's a very good young player, and you'd for sure rather have him lining up there than Rasmus Højlund. There's no doubt about that. Same as you would rather have had, Liam Delap lining up there and instead of Rasmus Højlund. There's no doubt about any of that. But the biggest thing with Ekitike continues to be that 100 million price tag. And like I said, I think I said this yesterday, but I do think that people were taking some things that were said a bit too literally in some of the pieces and things that were out there about this, because on that 60 million rated thing, you have the Athletic. They said in their article that it was 100 million in the transfer deal sheet that came out overnight. And if you look, this is the German football correspondent for the Athletic. I tend to reference them on most things because they tend to have such a wide network. But it says, on Hugo Ekitike, it's not necessarily given that he leaves Eintracht Frankfurt this summer. Financially, they don't have to sell him. Their sales in recent season have been vast. They're able to offer Champions League football. It's a tough negotiation for anybody. So I think, the reality is the situation we're in with both of our striker targets right now that are left is one striker, the more favored choice in this case, is at the moment kind of waiting for Arsenal, right? That's number one. But I think on that basis, United will probably they're continuing to sit on it, but they will probably push on it again soon. I would bet. I'd bet they'll push a little bit on it in the next 7 to 10 days back on the Gyökeres thing. I think they will push on it again and say, look, we'll see what happens. I'm kind of there's something I'm sort of checking out. I wish I could confirm it yet, because I'm not a Arsenal insider or anything, but I have reached out to a couple of people about something that I heard that would definitely indicate they'd be going for Benjamin Šeško, but I'm not an Arsenal insider, so I don't have the ability to ask the Arsenal club about this and get an answer or something like that, or get a confirmation of it. So we'll see on that. I do think, but again, I don't have the means and the resources to check it out. But I have heard a couple of things that would, to me, indicate that Šeško is the guy that Arsenal are going to go for. But I guess we'll see. We'll see. I wouldn't have a ton of confidence in that, in saying that at this point in time. But yeah, his asking price is high, but at the same time, I do think that they are needing to sell, and they will sell in the end at a lower price. And I think that Arsenal are playing the game here a bit in order to get the guy that they want. But we'll see. We'll see. Again, I know they don't want to pay the 80 million euros, but if they don't want to pay 80 million euros for him, they're not going to pay 80 million euros for Gyökeres when Šeško is the guy that they want more specifically. If it's the same price, they're not going to do it. So, you know, I mean, you have the same reports in Portugal right now that Arsenal are not going to meet their asking price. You know what I mean? So, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, we'll have to see there, but I do think we'll push on that again. On the Ekitike side of things, yeah, so on that side, we have one striker waiting kind of for Arsenal to a degree. On the other side of it, you have a young project striker that's a bit more of a risk. And the price is a serious problem. The valuation is 40 million euros higher. The valuation is 25 to 30 million pounds more than what United would want to pay for him. And the problem, as mentioned by those, by the guy at The Athletic and all of that, is that they don't need to sell. They don't need to sell. They don't really want to sell. They don't need the money. They have no impetus to lower the price for the player. And they have competition to back it up as well, should the price come down. So it's not necessarily an ideal situation in both circumstances. You know what I mean? Like, I wish we had an ideal situation here to look at on the striker thing, but we don't necessarily. And that's why I think we'll kind of hang on for it, but we probably have to get a move on. Now, if they can't get one of these, I genuinely still have no idea what they'll do, and that's why I think we will get one of them. But yeah. Difficult for sure. I would still say, as far as I hear, because the price would be better and the fit is better and the profile is better for them, that Gyökeres is still more likely, because really it's just about whether Arsenal go for him or not, determining whether United get him. Whereas the huge hurdle on price is a big difference, is a big problem. Yeah, probably the De Gea thing was a big one. I had the whole rundown on that for like 6 months ahead of time. To be fair, I was first on the keepers this summer too, that we were looking for keepers all year, and we are, but let's talk about that next, because that is one of the main topics as well. People on here watch too many YouTube comps. They really do. Again, I was saying yesterday, I'm just amused. Like, I know Gyökeres from watching him so much. Just, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Let's not get. I don't want to get into more arguments and things like that as well. But yeah, exactly. Actually, you're right. The takeover thing was probably far and away the biggest thing. The biggest thing, 100% the biggest thing. Like miles and miles ahead, bigger than anything else, was the takeover side of it. And we had the world against our information on the takeover stuff, but we ended up there. Gyökeres is 85 million, Ekitike is 100 million. What price difference? Why are people? Oh, we're lagging again. Hold on. I'll just hold extremely still till it passes. No, the price is probably for Gyökeres a structured deal up to 80, Ekitike a structured deal up to 100. And so the question is, yes, they have a difference in valuation on the players. You'd have to assume that Gyökeres is probably valued higher than Ekitike because he's simply a more proven player. So that shouldn't be particularly surprising, but I don't know that for sure. I do know that there was a look at something like a Bruno deal for Gyökeres. I think they'd want to propose a bit less than that for Ekitike. But let's talk about the keepers. Yeah, the video should be fine now. I noticed it. It only lasted like 5 seconds this time, and I just held very still. Pretend it's not happening. But yeah, on the keepers, United are looking at young keepers, and we saw some links like to some bigger, more expensive keepers, right? Like your Emi Martinez, your Donnarumma. But most of the noise on those guys is coming from their side. Most of the noise on Emi Martinez, on Donnarumma, on those ones is coming from the other side, their side, the player side, the agent side, that are kind of playing it up a little bit, because it was pretty much always going to come down to whether or not Onana leaves for those bigger type of strikers to come in, or goalkeepers to come in, whether they would spend significantly on a goalkeeper. And if that's, 40 million for Donnarumma, 40 million for Emi Martinez, and a bunch of wages, they're not going to do those kinds of deals unless they sell, unless they have a significant amount of money coming in from Onana, and that is unlikely to occur. So they're mostly going to focus on getting a younger kind of backup keeper, who can, not necessarily backup's maybe the wrong word, but a younger keeper that can compete for the first position, that can compete for the starting job with Onana. And that's what they're going to go for the most part. And those are kind of the names that we're seeing. So obviously we've seen about Lamens. We looked at James Trafford for a while, but it seems like that one is unlikely, simply because Burnley with being, he had a very good season. Burnley have come up. His price has gone up. He wants to be the starter. And Newcastle have been looking at him, but the price is expensive, and all of that. And then I saw there's some reports on that name. Man, that's annoying that this lag keeps happening. Unfortunately, I really don't know why now. It shouldn't matter too much as long as you can hear me. But there's a young keeper. Someone posted it earlier, but there's some small reports out of Italy on it. I'm sure that we're working on some other young names that we could add to the list like that as well, and that those would be ones that we would potentially go for sure. So there's a lot of names that could be kind of relevant to this discussion at the end of it. I don't think it's at all decided who or what they will go for at this point in time in terms of the specific name on it. Now, as far as I know, the people in what the people in the whole Nice situation, that United still can't make a deal with Nice to sign anybody during this window, as far as I know. I think that is still the case, so I don't think that we could get that guy. We'd have to wait until something like January. Well, now it's really lagging. That's great. It's completely lagged out. I don't know, man. I don't know what the deal is, but I'll be doing these from home until I can figure out my internet, unfortunately, because it is severely annoying me that I have to even pay attention to it while I'm trying to just talk about this. Obviously, we will also have Tom Heaton as a backup because it was for 3 windows. It was for 3 windows. It was all the way through. I don't think that the 12-hour window was. I don't think that whole 12-hour thing was is real. I don't think that that's particularly I think some people are looking at that and going You know, I think that people are, you know, essentially trying to use that, but obviously the intention behind the rule was, you know, 3 windows, and it was even mentioned as 3 windows at some time. I doubt that you could somehow register the player during that 12-hour window. Um, I don't really think that that's the case. I could be wrong, but I would really doubt whether that was an intentional type of thing, and I'm not sure that that's a loophole we can kind of get through. I know people are talking about like the, because I think because that wasn't that 12 hours or something, like just like some extended little 12-hour thing or something like that. Um, you know, that's the type of thing. I think that was an extension or something that they changed kind of after the fact. Do you think you should buy a new tick? When is Leeds? When is Leeds? I don't know. James Trafford is young. Well, you know, I think that the issue is that he wanted. I think that he wanted to be sure he's the first keeper wherever he goes, and I don't know if United are as convinced on him on that. But yeah, the Tom Heaton thing. I mean, it is what it is. You get a homegrown third goalkeeper. You know, what a big deal, right? It's not a big thing in general. So look, I know it's quiet. I know it's slow. You also have to bear in mind that a lot of people are just away, you know. You know, a lot of people are just away. A lot of people are away. A lot of people are doing different things. You know, are involved in different things. A lot of people are elsewhere. And again, there is the other simple factor of, there's the other simple factor of some clubs are right now really just looking to sell players before July 1st to balance their books, and we kind of have to wait for that. We can't necessarily just, you know, force things through, and it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain how, I guess, that affects the market. But like, you know, like I was trying to explain this morning, there's all these like, everything's connected. It's an economy. It's a whole economy, and when half of the deals are slow and half of the clubs are not really operating, then it does slow everything down, and it does affect the other part of the economy, and it does bring things to a bit of a standstill. But we always get this, like this sort of June lull, this mid-June quietness, this where things are just not really like moving, and then you get to the end of June into the beginning of July, and it's like a flurry of activity. So I can only say just to ride it out. United are talking to agents on these deals. United are working on the sales, and the one thing I do want to make very, very clear: United can't sell players. Okay, United don't sell players. It's not how it works. There's no, you know, the skill in being a good selling club is set a fair price and don't pay good wages. Okay, that's the skill in being a selling club, and it's to also like be easy to deal with, right? When clubs are there, it's not United's responsibility when clubs are not interested in their players. You know, aside from the fact that we're shit, you know what I mean? But that's the other factor in this, is we're often selling players who are poor, who have performed poorly, who have had a bad time, because we're not a selling club. We're not a club that is trying to make money on sales in particular as a priority, like some others. So it's not the type of thing. But the biggest factors are how much do you pay, which equals how much can you sell the player for if it doesn't work out, and how much are you giving them on wages. If you're not, if you're, if and so it's going to be hard to sell until that is fixed. And we have a squad full of players where a couple years in, their amortizations are in the 15-20 range, and their wages are in the 100 to 200 range instead of the 200 to 400 range. You know, that's the main thing that's just holding back. a lot of it. And then I think that in addition, because it's been so much about, the brand and the individual gains for people, I think it's kind of, I don't know what it's doing, but it's making it difficult. It's definitely making it difficult. And that's really the case. Are we going to sell players after? It doesn't really make a difference for us. That being said, if we sell players after July 1st, it might be better for us, because this year we're fine on PSR. If we can load it into next year so that it carries into a longer 3-year cycle, then that would make a big difference. That would certainly make a big difference. That could help us in the long run. But again, I also think more clubs are going to be looking to buy after July 1. Not that people aren't making moves now, but there's plenty of clubs in England whose PSR position is fine at the top, but there's a lot of other ones outside in Europe that are not so fine, and we'll probably have to wait until that time. June 30th is end of financial year for some clubs. Yes, exactly. So I know it's boring a little bit. I know it's frustrating, but there is a slow boat to progress bill here, which is, they're looking at these young keepers. They have made contact with a few, I believe, and I think that's why we're seeing little reports come out. They are in discussions with a few clubs to talk about, like, some of the, they're in discussions with a few clubs to talk about some of the sales. Like we were talking about yesterday, Sancho, Antony, and Højlund. And I think the Antony one is moving. You saw it mentioned in the deal sheet as well, that Batiste. It's moving, but these things are slow. But there are talks over these things. So it's like everything is eking, but I do feel that at some point here, these deals will probably hit an acceptable level, maybe sooner, maybe after July 1st, and then it'll just, we'll get a 2-3 outs and 2-3 ins pretty quickly over the course of a week or two. And in the meantime, it's not like work isn't happening. I mean, there's so much that goes into all of these transfers that, like, I know it can be obnoxiously boring at times. And I'm not trying to be overly repetitive, except to just say, like, I do know they're working on this. Like, they're exploring all deal. They've talked to so many agents and so many clubs in the last few weeks about especially things like sales as well, that they're very clearly, very actively, working on this stuff. But getting to that final finish line is a challenge. And the other thing that I would say, notably, is that there are very few, like, there's a lot less info. So, yeah, I'm curious on this Gyökeres thing because Fabrizio's really kind of almost backpedaled the whole thing a lot. And I kind of feel like perhaps the initial report that went out was too aggressive as to the situation. And I think part of it is that there's not a ton of info out there. Like, we're not getting links to like a bunch of midfielders and details and step-by-step progress and, details on the talks on Mbeumo. We're not getting all those from general journalists. So, when anything comes out, when anything info comes out, it gets blown up and it gets pushed really, really hard. So same as you see like with Ekitike, it's like it's real, but it gets pushed really hard, and then it's like all you hear about for like 4 days because there's nothing to talk about with United. And then I think that it gets a little bit overblown in that sense too. So part of it is that there's so little coming out of United these days, informationally, that we're not hearing all the little, like, every stage of the progress, every stage of the discussion as we used to. We're not hearing that like we might have in the past. So that's all. So I'm trying my best to keep you up to date on those things, but it is rather boring. I mean, I could speak less and use journalist language and put a report like United monitoring young goalkeeper and blank and do it like some breaking news, but it's not. It's not, you know. They've been regularly in touch with so many agents on these deals that, like, I don't know. I should probably I just yap every day, so it's not like it's very breaking, some of the things that I speak about, for sure. But you know, that's what we try to do, and when there are more significant updates, then obviously I'll say them. But yeah, I try not to use that language too much. It's like they're just, I don't know, they're just talking. Where they're just talking. You know what I mean? I saw a report saying Batiste only wanted a proposal to pay 7. Yes, for half his rights. For half his rights is my understanding, and then they want to do, you know, another staged buyout for him. So, all right, I'm gonna end it there. I don't need to take too long on today's video, but just kind of wanted to yap a bit about all of this, and hopefully we do get some more progress. You know, obviously we all hope that we get some kind of breakthrough in the discussion with Mbeumo, that they suddenly accept it. Hopefully one of these clubs that we're in talks with for Sancho or Højlund or Antony step forward and actually put an offer on the table, because we need that. There's nothing much we can do. We can have chats and all that, but we need some offers from those clubs to come in. That's what we're hoping for. And then, you know, let's see if we open any talks on Ekitike, or if there's any indication that they'll give us some kind of huge deal. Additionally, you know, if maybe Gyökeres and his agent get wise to Arsenal going for Šeško or something like that, then we can do that too. Why don't you do some fan interviews instead of just having not much to report? You can charge. Yeah, that's true. And I do want to set up a couple of different things, because I do expect it's going to be I would say I expect it's going to be quiet, but like something major could happen tomorrow, and then suddenly there's a flurry of news. Because then suddenly everybody's asking the club and asking agents and talking about this and talking about that, and it kind of shakes everything loose. So it's hard to say that it'll be quiet. But look, if I can figure out how to do it, then I will figure out maybe a way where I could send some, like, stream over from like StreamYard or something and do a few interviews. Money, 5 memberships, money. I'm sorry for not getting back to you yet on that email. I will get back to you, I swear, in the next day or two. Just been busy. But thank you, Money, for the donation of those memberships to the community. I really appreciate that. But yeah, look, what I might set up for maybe Thursday or something like that is I'll go over to StreamYard. I'll get invites set up, and I'll see if I can stream it that way, and then I could do the stage on Discord. I'll set it up one way or another and see who actually wants to do it, and I'll have to set up, you know, 3 or 5 people or something to ask their opinions and things like that too. So, all right, everybody, thank you for Big Up. Yeah, and I can do it on Big Up as well. I might do it over there and then post it here. That's always a possibility too, because that one is pretty easy. But I do want people who are willing to use a camera and things like that too, so I'm not talking to a you know, a floating head type of thing. So that might be the easiest way. So thank you all, and I will